Good afternoon, everybody. We're live here on the Let's Grow Power Hour, and we're happy to be here representing the Newark Business Hub. We have two very special guests with us today. We have Nicole Sanzioowner, who is the CEO and founder of NBH Music. I'm going to go into a little bit of her background and then let her speak about herself. And then we have Lerner, who's also co-founder and co-CEO of formerly known as Wind Up Records, but has been in the music industry for God knows how many different generations. He's seen music happen and been a part of that, making history. Really excited about this Blab because it's really going to give you some insight on some tools that you will be able to use and some experiences that our experts have to give you insight on how you make music make money and how you utilize some of the information that we're sharing to be able to figure out if this is something that your skin is thick enough for being in the music industry right now. So Nicole and Carter is going to join us on the chat. Nicole, you could go ahead and introduce yourself to us, to the world, and let them know what your background is, and we go from there.
So I do a couple of things. One of them is rights and clearances for mainly some NBC News properties, such as the Today Show and Nightly News with Les Holt, Meet the Press, and occasionally Dateline. And I do that on a contractor basis because I also own a music company, a music licensing company / publishing, and now dabbling sort of a little bit on the label side, just to see how it goes, see if it's something worth getting into. But we could get into that with the whole digital thing, and later, I don't know, maybe Stephen can help out on that end, since that's more of his expertise. But yeah, so that's what I do. I help mainly unsigned artists, and it's really important to stress unsigned and independent, because I started as an independent music composer or aspiring composer at one time, and I started trying to place my own music along with my talented circle of friends' music on TV and film. So I base my whole business on that, really trying to help out the guys that really don't have that chance normally to get their music in TV and film.
Nice. Our other esteemed guest, Stephen. Stephen, why don't you give us a little bit of background history about yourself, how you entered into the music industry and where things are right now.
Sure. For me, it started, like whoever's on this slide right now, you have to be a fan of music. And, some of it is just for your own enjoyment, but as you get older, it's something I wanted to be my living, to be involved in music. So I started with a music wholesale startup, and we became the largest wholesaler. And then about 20 years ago, I started a record company. And we started a record company, a publishing company, a merch company, a tour development company. And, you talk about crapshoots, that's what the music business is. You go out and you find music you really like, and you record it and you put it out there, and you hope that people like it. And we were fortunate in that the first couple of artists that we signed all became platinum plus artists, and we were able to build a company around that. So my background was really a startup record company that grew. I think we had 80 people at our peak, and we dealt with recording, publishing, merch, and touring.
Okay, nice. I want everybody that's watching to know and understand that our guests today have a vast amount of experience in the music industry, from the beginning stages of how you enter into monetizing and becoming entrepreneurs in the business. I know Nicole is also actually a musician as well. So just want to, have a conversation as it pertains to when you started out, Nicole, was there somebody that was a mentor to you? Do you have a mentor? And if so, could you expand on that?
I never had any one particular mentor, but I've had a lot of people who have supported me from the beginning. And then some people as I grew my business and learned more about my business, because when I first went into it, I knew what I wanted to do. And I tried to do it, just very I just went into it not knowing as much as I should have at that time, but knew that I would learn it and because of my passion for music and what my goal was at that time. And people stepped in later in my life while I through the years and in going through the business and building it, and those people are still with me now, and they're just great supporters. There's one woman, Charlene Wang, who is she works at DreamWorks Animation, and she basically introduced me to a friend of hers, and you know how things work. If you definitely have to know people in this industry, and
Yes.
and yeah, that's how we got our first film placement, which was huge for us. And we're great friends now, all of us, so it's we built a support system, even we took it a bit further, so no, I didn't have any one particular mentor, but I have a lot of people that are our support system.
Right. One of the things that the Newark Business Hub is really about is being able to utilize some of those same people that have supported or helped us to be able to share the resources in that same vein, to be able to expand what we're all trying to accomplish and do in the industries that we are involved in. Stephen, have you had someone that was a mentor or someone that really gave you that support and insight to help you your vision further?
I think probably similar to Nicole, there wasn't one person. I wish there was. That would have been nice. But I think it's really, especially in the music business. The music business has a whole cast of characters coming from different backgrounds. We're passionate about music, and I think what I've tried to do, and I suggest to anyone who's looking to get in, you really need to talk to everyone. It's as much as finding out good advice is hearing bad advice and learning from that and stay away from it. Early on in my career, I made some big mistakes, and I had people tell me, instead of beating me up, they said, "You've just become better. You've just become a better executive, a better music person because of those mistakes." And that was a big lesson for me, because you have to try things, you have to do things, and you're going to get them wrong, and you got to learn from it. But I really think, especially for the music business, you got to speak to everyone you can, and you have to use your own radar and your own judgment as to what's good and what's not. But there's, Nicole mentioned it's about meeting people and developing relationships, and that's kind of, for me, it was less of a mentor and it was more of a network. If something came up and if it was legal, I had, if it was a certain legal thing, I had a certain lawyer who I knew wouldn't charge me, I could call and ask him some advice. Or if it was a creative thing, if it was an A&R thing, and if it was a sound thing, so it's really building your network of contacts, being respectful, being positive, and being a good relationship partner, and tapping into that network as needed. That, to me, that it's great if you could have a mentor in your corner. I think that's rare and hard. But think of it as a mentor team.
Yes, I really fully understand that it's not just any one person, specifically even in my own journey, that has helped. There's been a multitude of people that I've been able to learn from and build a certain network, including you guys, in which we figured out ways to begin to work together, partner, some longer than others, but I think it's important for the most important thing that I heard you both say is really using your resources. People that you can depend on actually help you get further into business by their own expertise and the relationships and the loyalty that you may have to them. And I don't want people to, I got to toot both of you, you, Nicole, and Stevens horn. For all the people that are watching this, you should really understand that both of them have, I mean, they've worked with platinum artists. Steven has built bands from the ground up to, I mean, like diamond, platinum, all of these different things. One of the bands, Creed, has sold God knows how many millions of records, Evanescence, so on and so forth. So they've been, and Nicole has worked with all types of artists in placing music for networks, and a lot of the work that Carter does, Nicole and InDigi Music is a partner to Cobblestone and to On the Rocks Entertainment and all of the things that we do. But one of the things I want you to be able to share with people, and if you could, Steven, what was one of the biggest deals to date that you've been able to accomplish in the music industry, and what has been the lessons learned in regards to how you were able to pull that deal off?
Biggest deal. You know, every deal feels good once you get it done.
Once you get a check.
You're right here, but you know, competitive nature, even if it's an unsigned band that doesn't have anyone chasing them, once you want to sign them, all of a sudden, oh, they've got other offers or other interests. So you always feel that competitive spirit. I think, you know, one of the deals, I don't know if it was the biggest, but I think it's a story for someone who's getting into the business. When we were starting our record company, we wanted soundtracks were still big business back 10, 15 years ago, and they were doing a big movie, a Marvel movie, Daredevil, and every major record company had put in huge offers to get that soundtrack. It was with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner, and they were going to use a lot of music in the movie. We were a startup, didn't know anyone at Fox, called, asked to speak to the president of Fox Music, got him on the phone, and I told him why we'd be the right partner. And I said, why don't I take you out to lunch? And he knew I was calling from New York City, and he was in LA. And I figured if he bought it, I'd hop on a plane and give him the best shot. And later he said, I knew you were in New York, but hey, if you wanted to have lunch, you know. So we had lunch, and we spent a couple of hours, and he got to know me, and he got to know the passion we had at our company and what we were willing to do. And even though I'm sure he had better offers monetarily up front from Columbia and all the big record companies, we shook hands and we left with that soundtrack. So I'm a very optimistic person, but I figured my trip to the West Coast was more about freaking flyer miles than actually getting the soundtrack. But shake hands on that. That was very, very gratifying. I think the moral is, especially a lot has happened in the music business in the last 10, 15 years, and size doesn't matter as much as it used to. If anything, if you're nimble, you're quick, and you can show and the intent and the passion and some creativity, you could tip the scales against much bigger players. So that was the case, 10, 15 years ago, but it's even more now, and I think there's more opportunity for a young person to distinguish themselves. It is a steep hill to climb, but it is climbable.
Yes, and one of the things that I chuckled inside that you said was that you just picked up the phone and called. That you didn't wait for anything. You said, you know what the worst thing somebody could tell me was no. Let me just take the initiative, call, reach out. People don't understand it's that simple sometimes to just reach out, show up somewhere, extend yourself, and it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So that's a part of it. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, and knowing and just following your gut sometimes really helps you move things forward. Nicole, how about you? What's been one of the things that you consider a serious milestone or serious accomplishment in regards to a deal that you feel was something big to you?
Well, when I first started, I used to work at MTV, and I actually used to deal with wind-up often. On the other side of it, I was dealing with rights and clearances, and I was clearing music for, for the VMAs and the movie awards and so forth. So I was dealing with a lot of clearing Evanescence's music and Creed's music. I dealt with they had their own film and TV licensing department there, so I often dealt with them. But that's off the subject. Back on
small world though.
Back on my I started off as an instrumental music library, so I was dealing mainly with composers and producers. And then, it turned out that some of our producers were also their own artists. So, I was like, oh, this is great, instrumentals. And then 2009 rolled around, and what I thought was my big accomplishment was at the time, because we were really dealing with the MTVs and the E's and the Bravos and the basic cable network channels mainly. And then we got this film placement, and it was the Fast and Furious 4. And so that was like, that to me at that time was the hugest thing in my company's history. We got a film placement. Oh my God. And it was an instrumental. But then, 2 years later, 2011, Fast 5 rolled around, and we, luckily we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to submit music for Fast 5. And, we made our selections, we submitted, and, I have, with film, the production schedules are very long, and post-production sometimes post-production it's the last thing in the schedule, but it's long. So we got it. We submitted way in the beginning, and then 2 months are rolling by, and I'm like, oh, we didn't get it, But then we get a request for to use one of the songs we submitted. And then, like 2 weeks later, we got another request. So, and then it's like, wait more. And, a month goes by, and you're like, okay, well, I don't know what's happening now, but I know we have a chance still.
Yeah.
Because then at that time, it's like, oh, well, it's 2 possibilities now. And we're like, we got to get at least one of them, But then it turns out that we got the request Fast and Furious at some point, and we had to turn it around quickly, and it was confirmed, and we actually wound up with 2 songs in the film. But songs meaning songs with vocals. So it was like our first. It not only was our first song, but it was just like 2 songs in a film. Any kind of film placement to us is major. So, and then that was Fast and Furious is a major feature film. So, to get these independent artists' music in the Fast and Furious, like that to me is it's so rewarding when I get that placement for somebody like that. So, post production, it's like. It's really the last thing that, they're thinking about after all the producers have already picked out their choice of what they want to use as far as music goes. But then they come to a point in their, that post-production schedule where they're like, oh, shoot, we can't afford all of this.
And what you just said actually presents the opportunity for what happens where, oh, we can't afford that. But normally, what my experience has been, you have all this great talent, all these independent artists that have great music that the world hasn't heard. So getting a placement or sharing those placements with the production studios and things like that, and then they hear it, they're like, oh, I want that. And then the feeling that I know we have had, and that it has been just, you can't even really explain how exciting that feeling is. And you know, I think it's really important for people to understand. Our company started out as Cobblestone started out as a music company, strictly Cobblestone Records. We wanted to be the next big record company, so on and so forth. And you know, things were changing. I used to own a music store, in which I started the music store to begin to get relationships going, to get to the distributors. I wanted relationships with the labels. And I had artists and all of that I wanted to promote, but I said it won't happen unless you have relationships with people inside. So I definitely understand that. The other topic that I know we definitely have to talk about is, Steve, you could start off on this note, where I'm from the world of being in the industry prior to the internet, like right where the point I closed my music store because downloads had begun to become the most prevalent way to buy music. And I had Evanescence, Creed, all those were new bands when I had my music store. And I can remember how popular they became quickly. But something else was happening. In their rise, things were changing in the industry. So you had this old way of distribution that was going on with CD sales and you know, things of that nature. Why don't you talk to us about, I want both of you to answer this, why don't you guys talk to us about your experience in the music business prior to the internet, and you know, how that model, it doesn't really exist anymore, but let's talk about the new model that exists currently, this digital age that we're in, and subscription services, download. Let's talk about what's the difference in the tools that you would definitely have to have in your toolbox now to survive or to navigate through the industry now.
Sure, and maybe the best understanding, it really is two distinct worlds, and to build a bridge between the two of them to understand the difference, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, you sell a record, you sell 3-4 million copies of a record. It costs you almost as much marketing money as if you sold 20,000 records. So for big record companies, it's a very risky business, but you could go after a lot of records and sell only 20,000 on a bunch of them, because once you sold 3, 4, 5 million on a band, on an act, that made up for a lot of those misses. Now, what happened today, that basically record stores barely exist, record sections in department stores barely exist. Buying digital downloads is on the downside now. It's the world of streaming. So before, you know, as a record company, when you would get for every album, you'd get about $10. Then you'd pay the artist and the publisher, but you had a lot of money left over. Now you get pennies, and you get pennies per song. So you're not selling, you know, 12 songs on an album. You're selling one song, and you're getting pennies on it. So what happened? Record companies that had hundreds and hundreds of employees now have 50 employees. You know, record companies that have 50 employees don't exist anymore. You know, it's just changed dramatically. And before, it was about, you know, building a buzz, touring. It was about getting on radio, and there was a bunch of money that was needed to make that happen, to see whether you had a record that was going to sell 20,000 copies or a record that could sell a lot more. So, you know, it makes me feel really old to talk about it, but that's ancient history. The days of selling all those records are gone. Now, you know, it's all about streaming. It's all about getting the music out there, and in Nicole's world, licensing and playing live. So before it was about record sales, that won't do it anymore. But record companies, smaller, leaner, they exist, and if if they think that they can get you on radio and they think you can build up a live following, they're still in the business of signing, developing artists, but you know, they're signing a lot less, and they're expecting to participate and all the revenue streams where in the past they solely participated in the recording side. So I think, you know, for this, it's all about getting your music out there, and ultimately financially, it's about streaming. It's about being relevant, that you can, you know, whether it's Tidal, which is more on the urban side, Spotify, getting your videos watched on YouTube and getting the marketing monies, the advertising monies that come from that. It's very, very, very different. But the one thing that is exactly the same is you're not in the game if you don't have great music. So, you know, you have to just make sure that you're coming with best material, and then finding the right partnerships and outlets to expose that material to ultimately get to the point where you have support in getting it out there and building an audience. You know, a career back then could go, you know, some of the artists that you mentioned, we get it on radio, and it was like a wildfire. You know, more radio stations would edit, and sales would be, you know, instantaneous. Now, I think it's a bit of a longer cycle, but there's also a lot more opportunity and options to get your music out there, and you know, that piece hasn't changed. I don't know if I fully answered the question.
Yes, I think you know, for the most part, you know, it's just been a whole unraveling of how record companies used to do business, and you know, catching up to the new trend in technology, and everything is just changing every day. So with that, you know, you can't just lock certain things down and just make, you know, this wheelhouse of money, this money mill. That's all different. Like you said, labels that have 50 employees no longer exist. So no, you definitely answered the question. Nicole, what's your thoughts?
So interestingly enough, is the talking from a TV film, well, mainly a TV perspective, because those shows that I mentioned earlier on the basic cable networks that we still get a lot of placements on, but we used to literally bank on the royalties that came in from the repeats, and a lot has changed in that respect, because now, you know, there's so much TV out there. However, they're not repeating on TV, which is where we get our broadcast royalties. They're repeating online through streaming now, and Hulu and Netflix and Amazon and so forth. And it looks like, and I've only been able to tell this year, that they've made some kind of, you know, they've come to some kind of a agreement with the PROs, I guess, because I just started seeing royalties come in from the repeats on Hulu and Amazon. And so it's like they kind of just figured it out.
Wow. So are they going retro with that? Are they capturing from when it's? I
don't think so. No,
wow.
I don't. Yeah, we kind of go through that way, I think. But yeah, like, you know, the Real World on MTV, that was one where it's like, oh my God, we got a placement on the Real World. That's gonna, you know, that repeats a ton. We know we're gonna get some income from that.
Right.
But they're definitely repeating less, and then just kind of, because there's so much TV and they want to throw out so much new programming out on the TV, they're doing that, but they're throwing the repeats up on their websites or through the, you know, through these digital sites, you know. So, but, you know, like a show like, you know, we could still bank on it a little bit. Like, I still know what shows to aim for and which ones I don't, you know, I shouldn't waste my time on. But yeah, it's, so that was the big difference, from a TV perspective.
Okay. As we talk about the change of how the industry is shifted from the older model of you know, the business of music to now, how important is it for entrepreneurs to be tech savvy and to diversify what they do? I could speak for myself. like I said, we started out as Cobblestone Records. We thought we would be the next Rockefeller or the next No Limit or Cash Money, and that model was over. That the joint ventures and all those things. So we had to begin to look at, one, how do we keep our overhead down, but how do we make ourselves valuable in ways that we could produce our own stuff and produce our own content. I mean, for us, we started shooting videos versus hiring somebody to shoot a video. We would shoot documentaries and begin to dabble off into other types of content creation in which we would use our own music to exploit our music that way, to be able to generate revenue through those ventures. What are some of the most important things that entrepreneurs in the music industry or people that's looking to get in need to know about technology and diversification?
I think, they definitely need to know their social media skill. They need to have social media skills because that's everything right now. People are independent now. They have access to anybody and everybody. They got what they asked for, basically. But, now they still got to put some time and effort into, like, getting their music out there. And, it's social media is the way now. So, it is getting your music out there on Spotify and Pandora and Tidal and Apple Music and so forth, because that's the way music is being discovered these days. And blogging is like we were talking about. I was talking about payola, how people used to pay the radio station, to get promotion and get spins and so forth. But now it's like you got to pay bloggers to blog about you.
Wow.
So that's the big thing. It's that, and then on the real, like, specific technology part of it, if you're a lot of people are not going into recording studios to make music. They have their home studios. So the 5-year-old brother or sister is sitting down with their producer brother or sister, and they're learning how to use GarageBand and so forth, and yeah, that's really important. It's important to have those DAW, the DAW skills like Pro Tools and Logic and so forth, and it's important to know how to bounce your music out, however, in every which way that you can, because everybody wants music submitted to them differently. I don't know, if anybody knows this, it's rock and it's bones that, I need stuff in a certain way in order to work with them. So, it's not something, I used to be a little bit more lenient, but now I'm dealing with a lot more people, and I just don't have time to babysit anymore or hold hands or, so there's me, and then there's, a couple of thousand me's that are asking for music in a certain different way. So you need to be flexible and submit music the way people need to and quickly. So, it's got to be at your fingertips, and you need to, it's just so important to be able to turn around something like in a snap.
In seconds, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing, because I've been on the other end of that phone call when that's happened, and the reality of making yourself valuable to a person like yourself, Nicole, is how quick you're able to turn around quality music. I've witnessed you call Rock or email him about a certain song, a type of song, and him and Bones will go right in the studio immediately, lay it down, and email it to you in less than 2 hours. So
right.
you have to have that work ethic, but that's what makes you valuable. Someone asked, and I'm gonna let you go on that note too, Steve. But somebody asked a question about how do you even establish relationships with a record label or music entities right now. So I'm gonna come back to that, but I want to let the people that's out here asking questions know I'm gonna definitely get to their questions. So Steve, if you could answer to the whole technology and diversity thing, and
oh, sure. But I'll touch on that question just so that you just mentioned. So it's all about filters. Record companies aren't as big as they used to be. the A&R staffs are now where you used to have a lot of very experienced A&R people. You know, it's a lot of kids out of college not making a lot of money, looking on the internet for bands. And a lot of the record companies don't even take submissions these days because, you know, they just can't keep up with it. They rely on their staff. So if I was a producer and I had some songs I wanted to get out there, or an artist and I want to get my music out there, it's really very old-fashioned. You make a list of all the record companies that you think your music is appropriate for, and you call. And you just say, who do I send submissions to? Get the name and person, send it. Likely you won't hear back, but then follow up and call that person. Lawyers. So, you know, with the filters, you start with the record companies, but record companies rely on lawyers who go, you know, kind of weed out the better bands and then shop it to the record companies. Now, there's a lot less lawyers doing that because there's a lot less money to be made by shopping bands, but it's also, you know, reaching out to whatever lawyers are out there that are in the music business that deal with your kind of repertoire and see if they'd be interested. Music publishing companies, start with BMI or ASCAP, get an association going and meet everyone in that organization who you can, ask for advice, ask for suggestions. Reach out to music publishing companies. It may take 20, 30 people till you find someone who will even want to talk to you, but if this is what you want to do for a living, you got to knock on all those doors and keep track of them, keep whether it's in a notebook or an Excel table, every person you've reached out to, who you've communicated with. It's, you know, the old salesman approach. You just got to knock on every door because you really don't know what's going to come from it. As far as the technology piece, I mean, it's weird. You know, music business is more of a technology business because it's just being used for technology applications more than anything else. I remember when YouTube came out, we were the first record company that did a deal with YouTube because everyone felt like, oh, this isn't, you know, what's this going to be? And everyone's scared of technology. It worked out great for us because our music videos were the default ads because they didn't have any other inventory. So really well for us, and we used to get nice checks from them. I think what Nicole said is really important, social media. It's great to be able to reach out to a label. It's great to reach out to a publisher and be proud of your music and try to get them to listen to it. But it's even better if you go out to them and say, this is what I've done. This is the following. I live in XYZ, and, you know, this is what I've done in XYZ. These are how many people I have that, you know, on my Twitter. You know, using social media, start with your friends, then friends of friends, family, friends of family. They just want to see numbers. If I get a piece of music that I like and I see that, oh, wow, they've got 20 followers, then I get a piece of music that I like and I see they have 2,000 followers, you know where I'm going to spend my time and energy, so you really want to make it easier. So I talked about the reaching out first, but really what should happen first is learning how to use social media, how to capture your network. And your network is people you know, people who they know, and, you know, the whole Facebook. And you don't have to do all of them, I think, because it takes so much time. Find the one that works for you and try to drive traffic there and build up followers and try to get new music out to them. You know, it's all about that initial fandom. People want to feel that they've discovered you. So in that discovery phase, people think it's cool. Wow, this is music I really like. I can hear it on the radio, but it's just, you know, it's just from the next town over. Those are your initial fans that could go to work for you and help promote and help build a following. So, and there's no secret to it. Social media is all out there to learn, so there's no excuse, you know, that, oh, I didn't know how to use this platform. If you're serious and interested, building a following is the most important thing that you could do. I would do that first before I would even shop
Yeah, something that I've watched happen is something that we've had to become. We had to become like market researchers almost. It's about data and collecting data and analytics and knowing what demographics to be able to figure out what do we want to be able to pitch as these are the people that's following us. And it's like you as an artist, as an independent entrepreneur, a lot of why we even created the Newark Business Hub and why we're doing this in partnership with the Rutgers Business School and the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development is because a lot of us have gotten to the point where we wound up freelancing a lot. And we've noticed a trend that we know that in collaborating and doing the things that we do creatively together, that is strength in numbers. And you know, it's not easy. That's something that's not an easy thing to do. And could Nicole, could you speak to the importance of or some things that you've experienced with collaboration, trying to, you know, grow your business at the same time, but collaborating with other companies or people, producers, and so on and so forth, in order to be able to get a project done?
I don't think that's a good question for me. I very rarely collaborate with anybody. I'm a one-woman shop, and I want to remain a one-woman shop. I think it's important for writers and artists to collaborate because it's more opportunity, and for them it's you know, to produce a song over an instrumental, it engages more opportunity for me to pitch their music. But you know, like people say we're partners, but we're not partners with any. You know, we don't have any partnerships. It's not like that. And I say we because it's just something I've always done from the beginning. I don't know why somebody said something. You should say we instead of I, and I kind of stuck. But you know, it's just I, and it's me. I don't collaborate with people. I mean, there's your normal everyday business and people you deal with every day, or just people that you know, you've established relationships with, which is different than collaborating, I think. But if that's what you're talking to, then if that's what you're talking about, then yeah, my collaborators. Then I have a lot of collaborators, and it's just people I've established relationships with over the years and proved myself to. You know, it's hard sometimes getting people to listen to music, and there are certainly egos in this business that will never give you the time of day. And I've learned to move on. Don't focus on those people that won't give you the time of day, because there's so much opportunity outside of that. Right. It's don't let anybody knock you down, because if I let people knock me down based on how many rejections I've gotten or how many people have not listened to our music, and you know, in the beginning I took a bit personal, but then I learned not to, and that's really important. But yeah, it's there's so much opportunity out there with people that you can establish relationships with, and as Stephen mentioned early on, is that talk to everybody. You know, it's all about networking and relationships. That's the bottom line. It's you know, first it's who you know, and then it's what you know. That's how I feel.
Yeah. So, and when we say collaborate, I'm gonna disagree with you, because you do collaborate in my mind, because you work with so many people based on relationships, and you get certain things from them. Not collaboration that is this company, and this company on the project. Is that person that you could call if Rock sends you a track, and you know you need a song, and you got a singer over here that you also work with, you may put her and say you guys need to figure that out. Like that type of collaboration. Like, to me, that's...
Yep. I mentioned pairing up artists and writing.
Right. That's I don't want you to say you don't collaborate, because I've witnessed and bear witness to that.
Well, I try and pair collaborations up, but I myself am not like, here, use my instrumental.
Right. No, I got you. How about you, Stephen?
I think what Nicole said, collaborations, it's really relationships. So, depending on who's on this, if you're a songwriter, it's really important to expose yourself to other songwriters and get feedback to your craft. So if that's what you want to do, you should see how you join one of the right societies and see if there's a program with one of the publishers or people that you can meet. And even if they're not interested in signing you, but to give you feedback. So, you're getting expert advice without getting without any business relationship. But it is in this business. It takes a village. You look at one successful person, and I could introduce you to 50 people who tell you they were responsible for it, and they all had something to do with it. So it really is. It's all a collaboration. If you're a producer, I did an independent movie once, and we had no budget for music, and I didn't know Nicole at that point, but I met a lot of people who were making music for the first time and got them involved, and two of them I introduced to really successful producers, and they interned for them for 6 months and got going on a career. Like I can't. We're talking about the music business, but whatever path your life and career takes you, it's about relationships, building the right ones, supportive ones, and communication. That will get you where you want to go. The first thing we talked about was that thing with Fox, where I made that phone call. You can't be afraid. You got to put yourself out there and try to get somebody's attention. And you'll get a lot of no's. You'll get a lot of not unreturned phone calls. As Nicole said, don't take it personal. It's not you. That they just didn't get. They have too much coming into them. But you can't give up. You got to keep plugging away till you find those. Just like Nicole did, she found those that she wanted to work with and wanted to work with her, and then that circle builds and builds and builds. So I just look at anybody that you meet as a potential collaborator / supporter / helper in what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded into a question that I had, but one of the people online asked, what do you guys think about these songs that are one word songs that's making top 100 Billboard, and you see a lot of noise around it. What do you guys think about the current the types of music, especially like of course in hip hop, but what do you guys think about those types of things that's happening, trends right now in the industry?
I mean, EDM right now is the hottest thing, and with TV and film, it's very different than the recording industry. Whereas we're not, we'll get a ton of requests, and like I mentioned earlier, it'll come to a point in a project when the producers or whoever is working on the project on that end realizes that they can't afford what they originally picked out, or they can't clear it for some reason. But it's usually the hottest thing that's out right now that they want, or some obscure song that is just, it might be legendary in some way where they just can't afford it. And but that's when people come to me and they're like, we need a song, just in this vein, with the same tempo, the same vibe. So my first, the first project the first film placement that we got was a good example where someone, they were like, we need something along the lines of Flow Rida, and I had an artist that is great. Like, he's just a great independent artist, and he's from Florida, so he already has that, he has that Flow Rida sound. And it was so perfect because, the vein of the song was it was that up-tempo, pop electronica, urban, a little bit mix of everything. And and so when we get requests, it's really for something that's already out there, that's popular, and it is those 1 word, 2 word songs, because that's what's hot right now. So it's the marketing, it's all about their marketing. We don't have those dollars to push a 2-3 song, a 2-3 word song out there, so we lose there, but that's not my main focus anyway. Maybe down the line, but yeah, it's our requests are definitely different than the person that's trying to find the next most unique thing.
Any comments, Steve?
I think any time you have something of the moment, and this is of the moment, and in the future there'll be something of the moment that's going to be different. So you can't chase the now and the present. And, if you're creating music, it's got to come from the heart. There are drum sounds that every year will change, or guitar sound will change. You had originally asked if we liked what's these songs on radio, and it's not even a matter whether you like it or not. It's working. I think it's really important. What I would do is every month I just have a tape of everything that had charted in the formats of radio that we were pursuing, and with the context of that, you get really familiar with what's working. To get to the top 40 radio, they're getting some research. So, I would say that at any given time, I hate half of what's on radio, but it's not, it's not our personal choice. It's working for whatever. So I've seen too many musicians face the now and the moment, trying to be relevant, and that's not their core. That's not their passion. You can make tweaks, you could adjust sounds, you could speed up, you could slow down, but don't be what you're not. First, let me speak English. Don't be what you're not. Just be who you are and be the best who you are, and that's either going to work or it's not going to work. But I think it's really, you don't make up the rules for what gets played on radio, but I think it's important to understand the rules. So be really familiar, and then you'll have an idea. It's ever so. It's not that often that a game changer comes that changes radio, whether it was Michael Jackson or whether it was Nirvana on the rock side, or that's frequent. The rest changes a lot slower, and But I wouldn't be changing who you are to adapt to what you think you need to be on radio. I've never, ever seen it work before.
Good answer. I completely agree with that. We have about 6 or 7 minutes left, and I want to squeeze in, I guess, 2 more questions. First question would be, both of you could answer, and however, but was there ever a time that you wanted to fully walk away from the music business? And if so, what was the change, or what gave you the ability to get past that? And the final question will be for us to hear from you guys what current projects you're working on, any other jewels that you may want to drop, or any last minute thoughts. But I want to answer to because a lot of times people don't understand, entrepreneurs go through a lot of challenges, and I mean mental challenges, let alone paying bills, but just how do you cope with all of the doors being slammed in your face? And any could you just expand on that, because we want to be able to encourage people to know that you should still continue to press on. If your skin is thick enough, you if you've been able to stay around long enough, I think you'll be able to reap the benefits of the hard work you put in.
Yeah, I would say roll with the punches.
It comes with the territory.
More so I would say in the first 5 years of my company, where people would have already quit, way back when, maybe even a year or two into building my a company like mine. where you're constantly dealing with rejection. And yeah, I'm going back to this rejection thing, but yeah, you're going to get a lot of it. This is the business. It's, but you got to push on through. It's who cares about those people that are rejecting you? It's not the end of the world, and it's not the end of your company. That's for sure. It's you move on. You just next. It's there's so much opportunity. I keep like opportunity is everything, and when you realize that there is so much opportunity, and you truly believe in your product and what you're pushing, then you just got to keep going through the motions. And that I'm a strong believer in God, and you know what? Every time I'm rejected, I just keep telling myself it's not my time. There have been times in the past, where early on trying to get our music with Warner Brothers and the big film studios, and it just wasn't our time. And then when we got the first film placement and we were able to say like our music was in the Fast and Furious, that it changed a couple of people's minds as far as like, oh, maybe we should like listen to what she has, because if her music's good enough to get into a major feature film, then obviously it's got to be good somehow,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those times when people have not given me the opportunity, it's funny because later on, it's when they do give you the opportunity and they totally forgot who you were, and they totally forgot that they didn't give you the opportunity back then. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful feeling. But like I said, if I'm not worried anymore about who's not listening. I send I send about 300 to 500 submissions a week to people, and I would say about 70% of it gets listened to because of my relationships. About 30%, some relationships, they're just busy, and I can't take it personal. Or it's just people that I'm trying to get to listen to again, and they're still not giving me the time of day. But screw it, it's not my time with them,
Right.
So
how about you, Steve?
I think the most important thing is really to know yourself. The music business is not for the faint of heart. It's a very challenging industry. You have a lot of challenges. You have interesting people, which maybe is a nice way of saying it's not the easiest group of people, as an industry. You have a lot of people who are in it for a long time or just holding on. You have a lot of inexperienced people who are in it now who, because, they replace the experienced people, and, it's not the most helping industry, but, if you don't like challenges, this isn't for you. If you can't take the answer no, this isn't for you. You really need to be focused and believe. You need to believe in yourself, your repertoire, and don't give up, and keep pushing. You have to be relentless.
Right.
You have to be relentless.
I fully agree.
And you also just need to be honest with yourself too. Just because you finish some songs and you want to get it out, and if they're not great, you're doing yourself harm by getting them out. So you really want to make sure every step that you take is of the highest quality that you can deliver, and you need to be honest with yourself. So I think the biggest thing, know who you are, and when you go forward with the best you've got, and believe. And don't give up.
Yes. That almost really wraps up our time, but I wanted you guys to, if you could briefly, like 30 seconds apiece, just tell us about what you're working on right now. If it's, ways that you want people to reach you, best ways that they could find out or keep up with you, social media, so on and so forth. Nicole, you go first.
Okay. I'm working on submitting music, and it's important to say submitting because I can't always say that we're going to get the placement, but we definitely have opportunity, and I'm submitting a ton of music for the Olympics in Rio.
Nice.
And then, working on, we may have a couple of placements in a new film, which I can't talk about. And then myself just finished a project as a music supervisor for the first time.
Congrats.
And thank you.
Awesome.
It's not my thing. It's, 90% of it is clearances, which is my thing. But, I had to go and get a German children's song created, and it was a lot. But I'm happy. And then, social media, my YouTube page, I'm trying to build up a bit because we're going to start digitally releasing a lot of our stuff. So just go to InDigi Music on YouTube and subscribe, please. And and that's it.
How about you, Steve?
I am no social media, no Twitter, Facebook, or anything. For me, right now, what I'm helping, there's a music streaming company, live streaming live show. So Livelist, www.livelist. I think it's pretty cool. It's like the TV guide of all live shows that are on the internet. So there's a whole rights history when somebody plays live, and then you see it recorded, and people need to be paid. But when it's live, you don't have all those issues. So it's just time to really put in the artists that you really want to see live, and they'll let you know when they're streaming live, and you get to check out the video. So really smart, some early Facebook guys who put this together, and they really didn't have anyone with music experience. So I'm just trying to guide them through that, and I think it's a pretty cool thing. So. And the real music fans who love live music, you should check it out. It's www.livelist.com.
Yes, I want to thank both of you so much. I know you guys are super busy, have a lot going on. I want everybody to know that Steven is also a Rutgers alumni, and is involved in the city of Newark with the I Have a Dream Foundation. He's the president of their board, so he's a philanthropist and somebody that believes in giving back. Not just his presence and his experience and everything else. He's somebody that's having a social impact from his experience through music and so on and so forth. So, and Nicole is just a super. He says he don't collaborate. I'm not letting you get off it. Yes, you do, because we love you. You are a major part of our family, and we appreciate you both. From everybody from the Newark Business Hub, Rutgers Business School, the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship, all of our supporters. For those of you who weren't able to catch us live, we're going to replay this. So please don't be discouraged. We're going to make sure you guys get the link. Keep following us and keep supporting, and just let's grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. And Tony, oh my God. Tony was silent, but she was the person the glue that pulled all of this together today. Thank you so much. She is our social media guru for the Newark Business Hub, amongst many other things that she does. But thank you all. You all have a great week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.